Hello, lovelies. You're at the Indigo Rose Lounge. This is your host, Alyce Dillon. Today's subject is ego. And really, ego gets a bad rap because ego is a very normal state in the development of a human being. At about 2 to 3 years old, a young child will develop an ego. Before that, really, when we're in the months zone, when we're in the 6 months, 12 months, 18 months even zone, a little one is very much a part of their unit. They're a part of their family, they're integrated into, and they identify with the unit. At about 2 to 3, they become separate. They start to separate. Anyone who's had a child, raised a child, spent time with little children will know that there comes a time where they start to understand that things are either theirs or somebody else's. And before that time, everything is theirs. So they have no compunction before that, eating off your plate or helping themselves to anything that belongs to anyone else, and in everyone else's mind. In their mind, everything is just everyone's. They're a part of the everyone. And then there comes a time when there's a definite separation. And really, that's what we look at as the ego. The ego says, this is now me. This is the boundary of me, and these are my things, and over there is you, and those are your things. And the ego is it's a cloak almost that comes into play to deliver a very clear set of messages. And that's this time of separation from the unit, when the baby, the little child, becomes an individual rather than only a part of the collective. And then in the ideal world, we outgrow the ego. We learn to understand ourselves as separate beings. We learn to understand ourselves as having unique wants and needs and priorities and gifts and unique beingness, unique purpose, unique thoughts. In an indigo sense, we have unique fairies. We have a unique life purpose. We have goals and dreams and desires that are our own. And that can last well into teenagehood, even into young adulthood. And then we foray back into usness, usually through partnership, through marriage, through relationship. And so hopefully by that point, the ego will now have subsided. So you can imagine it as cup that the individual is poured into to recognize their separateness from others, but then it takes on its own form. And the cup can now be discarded because that form's now set. Or a mold, if you like. That mold is now set, and you can now remove the mold. Unfortunately, in modern day society, that mold is often not outgrown. And so people walk around with their mold on. Moldy people. And that's ego based. And that's me. And I have to continuously prove that my mold is better than your mold. That I am a superior being to you, whoever you are. And there is that contest that continues, which is a function of the mold, both the mold and the mold. It's a function of the mold more than it's a function of the human being. So ego is perfectly fine in its proper expression, but it is meant to be outgrown. And once you outgrow, you solidify into your form. You accept yourself as a unique human being, usually by reflection. The world outside you, hopefully your parents and your nurturing adults, give you acceptance. And so you learn to accept your own unique structure. And then the mold can fall away because self-acceptance and self-knowledge make the mold unnecessary. But there's a problem there. There's a glitch there. And so often human beings don't shed the ego, and they continue to live with the ego very much intact. And the ego's function is, as it always has been, to create distance, to say, this is me, that is you, this is my stuff, that is your stuff. This is why me is better than you, and to seek elevation. In the normal human self actualization, but when you try to self actualize with the mold stuck on, it's very difficult to grow, because that mold, which initially just helped you to form into an individual, is now restricting your growth. So, how do we detach from the ego? What is it that we need to do to shed the ego? And that's really just self acceptance. That's understanding of self, that is receiving of love for the self from source or nature or the world, and really accepting that you are a unique spiritual being having a unique human experience, and that the way you are constructed, your unique talents and abilities are wonderful for you, and you will find a unique expression of those talents and faculties in the world. Just like a bird knows how to do birding, so you, as Joe Soap or Jane Smith, know how to do you. You're the only person who knows how to do you perfectly. And so you may accept advice or inspiration from others, but in truth, only you can find your authentic expression. Only you can find your true purpose. And when you do, joy and bliss and abundance await there for you, because being your true, authentic self is always going to be the path to the best of all things. It is always going to be the best path for you being able to receive. So your path to receiving is going to be so much easier when you know what you're offering is a unique part of your own self that you are uniquely positioned to offer. So anyone who's doing a job or a work or function that anyone else can do is going to be restricted in what they can receive. Whereas when you find whatever it is that makes you glow, when you find the thing you love to do, and you step into that love of every day, when you wake up in the morning and you bound out of bed to go and do the thing you love, people, of course, will will offer a larger exchange for that, because it's product or service done in love, with love. And that is always more valuable and authentically. You know, I've been seeing lately on YouTube, this isn't necessarily to do with the ego, but I think it's sort of related. There are so many videos on make $1 million today, earn abundantly, just follow these steps, put this prompt into AI, and then let it take you here, and then you'll do that, and then you'll do that. And it's basically a set of instructions that anybody could follow, no matter who they were, no matter what their name is, no matter what country they're in, no matter where. And there's a value in that, of course. But in terms of individualistic expression, there's no individual involved in that process. That's like buying a mold of a horse and mixing up some clay and making these clay horses. And they'll sell for X, and you'll definitely make money, and you'll go ahead. I'm not saying you'll make money selling clay horses. I'm saying the formula is like, go out and get some vanilla machine that makes things that people need, and it has no recognition of who you are as an individual. And I think the world that we're moving into requires more of us than that. At the very least, put your unique spin on it. At the very least, bring something of what you love to that. It will always give you an edge. Be paid in life for your unique attributes. And I think if you focus there, anyone focuses there, they will overcome any boundaries or any barriers to receiving that they might have, because they know that this is their own unique contribution. Of course, there could still be boundaries of all the not good enough stuff and, all of that. And I've recently done some tapping videos, by the way, on your basic tapping points. Please use tapping. EFT and tapping are great things. So what else could stand in the way of us overcoming the ego? Well, what I've just talked about, which is if a child grows up in a family, let's say, for example, there is a child being raised in a family of attorneys, but they are an artist. That's who they are. But the expectation of everyone around them is they will become an attorney. And they feel the pressure of that, and let's say they submit. Then the ego may stay in place to try and differentiate themselves in some way. So if they haven't been able to firmly differentiate themselves from their family lineage in any other way, they may keep the ego in place as a survival tool, as a way, at least for them to say, no, I am different to you. Of course, true healing of that individual would be for them to then find their authentic self through art or whatever expression they have, and finally grow into their authentic selves. But until they do that, their ego may stay in place to try and preserve their identity, their unique identity, against the identity that is being imposed upon them. It's all very well for us to say that we've outgrown our ego, but it's also part of the fear triangle. Remember, a child whose uniqueness feels threatened by the imposition of uniformity to anything will keep their ego intact to try to preserve their own individual self. And so this trend towards using AI to do something that has nothing to do with who you are, I fear, may perpetuate some more ego clinging. And so I really encourage you, if you're looking for something to do in your own time, that you look at it through the lens of what I love. What do you love to do? What is it that you can offer the world that no one else can? I promise you there's something. There is something that you will glow doing. There is something that will make your heart sing. And that is what you're here to offer the world. Let that be in the journey for you, to reach for whatever gives you joy and whatever is your truest expression of self. Because that thing, whatever that is, will be best not only for you but for the world too. We need you. Obviously the world needs you. If you look at nature, nature will bring to an area or to a space whatever is needed there. You look at parts of the world where they've just given up on farming, for example. They've stopped trying to impose structure on the world. And they leave these fields or these swaths of land fallow. And nature brings what is needed to that part of the land. Firstly, the weeds that are needed to break up the soil will come, the animals that are needed to break down things will come, the insects, etc. Life responds to what's needed. It's organic. It's what happens. And so you have been born into this world at this time to address a need that only you can address. Trust that, know that, and be that, because there is where you will find bliss and joy and exaltation and woohoo and yummy. And when you're doing that, whatever that is, it will be so easy to just be in love. Always.